you think you're playing football? Do you think you're playing football? Do you think you're playing football? You are showing me nothing.
Fires, Mike Sims, Walker, knocked down.
Oh my God! Davis is going running all the way back. Auburn's going to win the football game.
In trouble, he's going to be sacked. No, gets away. He runs, gets away again, goes to the 40, gets away again.
Jackson takes it himself. Look at him turn back and forth. Oh! He broke his ankles.
I have never seen this before in my life.
Still looking, firing, near corner. It's caught.
Denver, unbelievable.
And welcome to the fourth down fiasco.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Fourth Down Fiasco, your go-to podcast for all things football. I'm your host, the Barcelona baddie, Jordan Pryor, and with me are the rising stars of the podcast industry, the Vienna Wunderkind, Danny Weber, and the Wroclaw virtuoso, Tanner Vinsky. Say hello to the people, y'all.
Hey.
As always, we ask that you rate us 5 stars on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. It's just a way to help us grow the show. Shout out to the person who did give us a 5-star review on, I believe it was Spotify last week. That was greatly appreciated. But yeah, with that, the agenda for today's show is all about the European League of Football. Yes, if you are listening to this on Thursday, May 23rd, that means there's only 3 days left until the ELF season kicks off. And we have an epic doubleheader on the show with 2 high-ranking ELF personnel. With us now is Director of Communications for the reigning ELF champions, the Vienna Vikings. She was also voted Badass of the Year by Arnold Schwarzenegger, none other than the queen herself, Kiki Klepsch. Say hello to the people, Kiki.
Thank you so much for the invite. Hi, people. Hi, everyone listening to Fourth Down Fiasco podcast. I think it rocks. Woohoo. And this was probably the best introduction of my person I've ever heard before. So if I ever have to go on stage, I might hire you to introduce me then. Thank you so much for having me.
I love it. Yes. Anytime you need it, I will be there. Just fly me out.
I fly you in, honey. I fly you in. Awesome.
Well, excellent. We're just going to dive straight into the interview. Danny, I believe that you actually had a personal question first that was different than anything that we sent Kiki, right?
That's true. We always leave one question off, and it's always the very first question, and it's always to just kind of lighten the mood, etc. But the first question: are you guys hiring?
Excuse me? What did you say?
Are you guys hiring? Yeah.
Maybe. And I feel like, in real life, we could be really, really good friends. So I might drop your name and let you know in advance if we're actually hiring people. So yeah, might be happening. Maybe this year. We don't know yet.
Look at you, Danny.
Willing to move.
I'm sure you are.
Guys, Danny just made one great decision. He picked the right team in the European League of Football. I don't know if it was gut feeling or deep down inside. I mean, not the reigning, unfortunately, 2-time conference champion. So, but deep down inside,
you guys have one championship, back-to-back conference championship. Yeah, that is true. So I don't know, whatever made him choose us, he just made the right choice. Then he made the right choice. I guess so. Gut feelings work, I guess. Listen to your gut is what basically the moral of the story. But all right, let's hop into the questions that we sent you. How did you get into American football? Like, what's your history with the sport?
Never coached, never played, but many moons ago, I had a boyfriend from the US. He was playing basketball overseas, actually here in Austria. And him and his teammates always played Madden on the couch, and I didn't want to feel left out, so I started to play it. I was horrible doing it, but I started to feel like this is cool. It's a lot of strategy, it's a lot of action. Then I started watching NFL with the guys, and whenever we were in the U.S. We went to high school game, college games. So he is from Lakeland, Florida, and at that time I didn't know he was related to Ray Lewis. So we went to even high school games at Kathleen High, which is also, funnily, the high school from the Rheinfire quarterback, Jadrian Clark. Hi, Jadrian. But anyway, that's how I got into football, with watching high school and college. And and I started to liking a lot. And the relationship was over, but my relationship with football wasn't. So that's the beginning on a very private, personal level. And then years later, my ex-fiance, he had season tickets to the Miami Dolphins. Poor kid back then. They lost a lot of times, but I've been in the stadium, and the season tickets were right behind the end zone, and it was New England playing Miami, and it was the season with Tom Brady and Randy Moss. And I was just sitting there, and I remember it was either the second or the third touchdown Randy Moss did, and it was just so freaking beautiful. I mean, the pass, the catch, he did it one-handed. He had 3 Dolphins defenders hanging on him, but he made it look so beautiful and so effortlessly. And that was the moment I thought, oh my God, I'm in love with this sport. And and that hasn't changed ever since. So Randy Moss made me fall in love with football. That's how it started. And then I got back, and I got asked to start cover American football here, the AFL, the Austrian Football League, but also the NFL, with 2 friends of mine. And I did that for several years. It was called Crush TV, and we did studio shows, but also covering game days. And I did sideline interviews. I was a little bit like Erin Andrews, Pam Oliver type of thing, and I loved it. And and one of those shows, the Vienna Vikings president, and back then it was only the club, saw me, and he was like, oh, she's good. We need to hire her to host a Super Bowl party at the Vienna Marriott Hotel. And that's how I got in touch with the people from the Vienna Vikings. And then it continued. And from January 1st, 2022, when we started the franchise, I'm officially an employee of the Vienna Vikings franchise, and I love it. And I know I feel blessed and very privileged to be a woman in sports that can actually have a full-time job in American football in Europe. So I just talked a lot, right? But I hope I captured it all.
No, that was awesome.
Perfect. Yeah. So you played Madden. Who's your go-to Madden team? Who's your favorite NFL team?
I think back then, whom did I play with? I think it was this San Diego Chargers. But like I said, I really sucked at it. I really sucked at it. I don't know why I picked it. Probably because the guys picked first, and I had to choose whatever was left. So I really don't know. But I haven't played ever since, to be honest with you. So I'm not a video game person, but I enjoy watching our guys, our players doing it, on the bus or in the hotel whenever, they need to kill time before or after a game. It's always hilarious to watch them play and how competitive they are, even when they play video games. Yeah.
It's a universal thing, competitiveness in video games.
Oh, yeah.
All right, Kiki, I got the next question for you. So what is the overall goal for the ELF?
I can barely hear you. It's a little bit reflecting.
Yeah, Tanner, I think it's still not going through your headset. But Kiki, he had asked, what is the overall goal of the ELF? What story are y'all trying to tell with the ELF?
Okay. The first year of the ELF, it was 8 teams. The Vienna Vikings were not part of that, the league in 2021. But I can only speak for myself. I started watching it, and I was like,
this looks good on a way they presented it, on a way they've been performing on social media, the way the teams operated in a, in a professional background with certain circumstances. I like the rules. I like the fact that it plays with NFL rules and stuff. So I was one of the people in Vienna who said, like, we need to get in this league. We need to found a franchise. We need to have a professional team here in Vienna. And luckily, it totally overrated with the plans, I think, of the European League of Football as well. They wanted to have a Vienna team in the league. I think a lot of things are really done in an NFL-like, in an NFL type of way, I would say, with picking good markets, with picking areas or cities where there's football, where there's fans, big cities with a good market, and Vienna totally fit to that. And the fact that the Vienna Vikings have had a great reputation as a club, build it up over the years, matter of fact, decades. It went greatly. So the franchise was founded, and we're part of it since 2022. I think the long-term goal of the league is to establish a competition of 24 teams in various countries in Europe. And I think it will grow. It has a lot of potential to grow. It just needs to grow in a healthy way. And for us in Vienna, when it comes to what's our goal and where we like to go, I think we want to become one of those franchises where others are looking at and say, they are doing things right. I like the way it's handled in Vienna. I like the way it's done in Vienna. I like the way they treat the players, they recruit the players, the services we do, the fan experience we offer, everything from medical support to meal plans to offer our guys great apartments and all that kind of things. We have a certain standard. We want to be first class on the field, off the field. So I think, we're highly demanding, but I think everyone involved, once you get a glimpse of the whole chemistry and the whole atmosphere that's going on. It's everyone trying to bring that A game and perform as excellent as possible, and that's actually what we try to do.
That just kind of gave me chills. I wish that. I hope that Jerry Jones, just kind of disappears from the earth so you can take his job with the Dallas Cowboys and maybe we'll actually win something meaningful. You think I would be a great franchise owner? Oh, you definitely would be better than Jerry Jones. I can guarantee that. Tanner, your audio sounds a lot better too now, by the way.
That's good. Love to hear it.
Yeah.
We'll blame it on the move.
Yeah, exactly. So the next question we have for you is, in your experience, how willing are people in Europe with supporting American football? Do you feel like there's a good environment for American football in Europe, or has it been kind of a rough go having people attend and getting into the sport?
Well, how should I start answering that? When you're caught up in this whole football bubble, it's sometimes not that easy to, imagine yourself being out there, not knowing football or not being that close to football. But luckily, we talk to a lot of people. We are in constant communication, having, those feedback loops with people who are not in our bubble or who are not in the whole football community. And there are even studies saying that 2 years ago and even last year, American football was the fastest growing sport among fans in Europe, especially in Central Europe, like Germany, Austria, Switzerland, parts of Italy, and a lot of areas that are also covered by ELF franchises. So we have the experience, first year in the league, second year in the league, that our audience was growing, that our followers are growing, that the attendance in the stands is growing. We
set French's records with the home opener last year. We had almost 12,000 people in the stands last year at the semifinal. Unfortunately, we lost to Stuttgart Surge, but nevertheless, from a point of view with fan experience and how much people, been in there and got excited, it was a really great feeling. When you compare it, like Austria is not a really big country. We only have like a population of roughly 9 million people. American football is definitely not the number one sports over here. It's a lot of skiing going on and still soccer, even though a lot of soccer teams are not that good, but that's a different story. But in American football, we are actually super successful. I mean, the Austrian national team just won the European Championship. A lot of our guys on the team, I would say 70% of the national team are actually the Vikings. Other than that, we, the Vienna Vikings, we won the ELF in 2022 in our inaugural season. And our semifinal last year was, when I take a look at the past 10 years, the American football game in Austria with the third most attendance. So there was the Germany-Austria European Championship final back then in 2014 that had the most. And of course, there was the ELF Championship in Klagenfurt. They had, I think, 15 or 16,000 people. And then there was already our semifinal. So I think we're doing a good job to attract more and more and more people. And the thing is, once you come to the games and even you are not a huge American football fan, over here, it's pretty exciting. It's always something going on. People be like, oh, wow, someone is jumping. Oh, wow, look what's happening over there. It's a lot of music. It's cheerleaders. And of course, there's excellent football. It's the best league in Europe. So we're really having this little idea or concept where we say once you got the people in your stadium, they're gonna come back again because they have a good time. So the support is there. The fan base is growing. Sponsors are more and more interested in, jumping on, that's a cool and action type of sport where you can address families. Everything is super friendly. Nothing is really violent. So companies are supporting, fans are growing. Stadium situation is not always ideal, especially not in Vienna, but hey, we can only work with what we got. So I would say overall, I'm super thankful for all the people who support us. Media as well. It's more and more people reporting about us and covering us. The fact that it's back on Austrian free TV is a big thing, that it's covered on the radio, on print media, on online media, on podcasts like yours, on, web shows. It's a growing thing, and that's really, really exciting. So the support is here, but there's a lot of potential. Let me put it like that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Seeing all the TV deals with all the various teams, it's very exciting.
Gives us the opportunity to watch it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Kiki, I also do communication. So you and I are about to nerd out here for a second, okay?
All right.
We're going to ignore the other two people that are on this. But, I am curious as far as marketing a traditionally American sport to a non-American base. Like, what strategies and channels do you find most effective? I know that you had mentioned things like free TV, radio, all of that stuff, but I guess, number one, how do you get into those channels? And then from there, which ones have you noticed to be the most effective as far as bringing in new people and kind of increasing interest in your region?
We try, I would say, a combination of various stuff. We do the classic type of things. We work with newspapers, like I said, TV, radio. So a very classic approach to it. We, of course, use all our social media channels in terms of entertaining people on a daily basis. We do a cross promotion stuff. I like it a lot. We do cross
promotion things with basketball, with tennis, with beach volleyball, with soccer. So once you address an audience that has basic interest in sports, it's way easier to get them, especially all sports. So we do cross promotional stuff. We cooperate with companies and giving them, some kind of deals for their employees to come to our games. We work with the U.S. Embassy. That's a rather big community over here. We do traditional ads and commercials. I mean, unfortunately, you guys are not in Vienna today, but there are so many posters and digital advertising of our running back, Kari, looking scary as hell, and Western car catching the ball. So we make it look like, those are hot guys, catching balls or carrying balls. And
love it.
And so wherever people go, and if they use the subway or the tramway or they drive by car or they just walk by, we just try to make sure they see us. So we work a lot also with being visual in the city. That is something we figured out we were not so good at in our first year in the league, but we started to do it last year, and we realized, okay, if you attack people, and I mean the word in a really nice and positive way, it's the best you attack them like visually, and so with all the senses, like they open up their phone and hopefully they see our ad. They turn on the TV and they hopefully see our commercial. They turn on the radio and someone say like, oh, go to the Vikings. They are, hosting the games against Berlin, blah, blah, blah. Or they just, sitting on their way to the university or work and they see the poster when they wait for their bus. So we try to attack them in many different ways. And so far it's looking good. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, definitely. I mean, having all of those touch points is very good. I remember whenever I used to work, I used to do marketing for a law firm, and it was kind of the same idea of, you had to have the print, you had to have the radio ads, you had to have, all these different channels where it's just constantly like, finally people go, okay, I get it. If I'm hurt in a car accident, I need to go with these guys. And I feel like that's probably the same with y'all of like, finally somebody gets to a point where they're like, I have nothing to do this Saturday. It's like, fine, I'm going to go to this Vienna Vikings game because I keep seeing ads for it. And so I am curious though, have y'all done any type of work with like pay-per-click ads or anything like that? Because I feel like something that y'all would be really good at utilizing would be TikTok does a really good job with their ads of embedding them in between videos, and you can't really tell when you're watching an ad versus when you're just watching a video. So I don't know if you guys have explored that kind of a channel or not.
Yes, we did. We are doing it like more like Facebook, Instagram. Last year before the semifinal, we did it on TikTok, and it was an overwhelming response. One thing I mentioned, we do like, banner ads on various sports sites. That's usually a cooperation we do, for instance, right now with our home opener game day presenter, which is Win Today. So if you work with really good partners that are proactive and they want to promote the game day or the team they invested in, you can actually reach a lot of people. Yes.
Gotcha. And then last question, communications wise, and then I promise I'll stop hogging the mic.
We can talk communications all day, but I don't want to bore your podcast, mate. So
we'll just bring you back on, so then you two can just.
And we could just go at it. But last question for you though, communications wise, what is the biggest obstacle for you as a communications director, trying to, increase your market reach and consumer interest? Like what has been the hardest thing for you in this position?
Right now, I feel like the biggest obstacle is that my day has only 24 hours and I still need sleep because I don't wake up like this, quoting Beyonce.
Fair enough.
I would say we're still struggling a little bit in terms of having still some media that is holding on to more traditional sports over here. But I think it's got better and better, and I invested a lot of time and
Well, I think the key to success is you have to build personal relationships with those journalists that you know who cover American football, and deliver them a little bit more like customized or personal stories, because every journalist is different, every media is different. So once you got a feeling for whom to offer the right story to, which is time consuming, but it pays off in the end. I wish I was like, in a blessed situation like NFL communications people, where you just say, oh, we have a press conference, and all of a sudden it's like, bam, 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 40 people are here. And you'd be like, oh, sorry, we got no more space. Over here, it's more like, okay, hey, guys, save the date. I know it's like a Champions League final, or it's, one of the Austrian guys is playing a great tennis game. So you have to struggle a little bit with like really getting the people's attention, but we got better at this, and I cannot complain at all. I have, I think, a very good working relationship with most of the journalists covering American football here in Austria. So, man, there are weeks I call some of these guys more often than my mom, but hey, that's how it goes. So
there you go, always working. Love it.
Always working. Yes.
Yeah.
So piggybacking off a little bit of, different channels you're utilizing for communication with your different peers and stuff. How often are you collaborating with other teams for communication purposes, like the other teams in the ELF?
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you guys, we have a weekly call every Wednesday at 9 a.m. starting in preseason, and then it goes until the season is over, where actually most of the PR managers or communications directors take part. The call is organized by the PR department of the league, and it's a great way to communicate to us things that's important to the league or news that's coming up. But it's also a great way to see, your peer, especially if, after a personnel change or something like that. So we have these weekly things. I'm always, I rarely miss one because I really like it a lot, and it's a quick way to communicate with each other. When it comes to especially the PR people of our opponents, you work a lot with them. Everything you need to ask and know in advance, you hit them up and then ask any kind of questions, and vice versa. If they want to know if certain things in Vienna, where's the press room? Can we store this here? Can we charge this there? All these kinds of things that media people need to know in advance to come either to Vienna or for us to go on an away game to do our job. It makes it a lot easier. And especially if there's someone really, really new, not only to PR, but especially new to American football, I'm always offering help. I'm in this game for a long time, and I might not know everything, but I know quite a lot. So I've had new colleagues who were hitting me up. You have everyone's phone number. So if they try to figure out, okay, how do you guys do that in Vienna, or how do you handle this or that? I'm not the type of person who said, you know what, you're my opponent, figure it out on yourself. I'm more like, this is how I handle it. This is what I can recommend to you, or this is my advice. Because in the end, it is still super growing, and it's it's a work. How can I say that? We are all building the image and the reputation of this league, and it's an ongoing process. And if I can help one of my colleagues to do her or his job better or more professional, it's gonna help us all in the end.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I'm gonna pull us completely away from communications, basically.
Danny said, let's talk football.
Football.
All right.
So we just saw Flo come back from the NFL IPP. It's good and bad news. Bad that he didn't make it to the NFL. Good for the Vikings. I'm glad he's back. But is the NFL IPP program like a direct partner with the ELF, or like how does that process work?
I don't think it's a direct partner, and not an official one, not as far as I know. But I think the ELF, the European League of Football, does a very good job to how can I say that, to put a spotlight on games and on players and on athletes over here. You get good highlights, you get good video, you get replays, you get a lot of exposure. And I think even the IPP scouting people, they have the ELF all on the radar because it is the best league in Europe. And if you're looking for talent outside of the US, I think you find a legit source of, let's say a league or a network you can watch and be like, ooh, this guy, he plays good every week. Let's have a closer look at him. So the fact that media-wise, this league does a really, really great job. It's easier for players to get recognized by IPP scouts. I would say it that way.
What are some of the moving parts that are involved with the IPP scouts? Like, what is the process of getting European players over to the US for those types of work or scouting or?
Well, once they look at people, they start to communicate, often with like head coaches, sometimes even me, because if I know the scout and they know I know the player, they get in touch with me as well, asking, because there are certain things you see on tape, but there are other things they would like to know. Is he a hard worker? Is he a great teammate? What is his work ethic? Stuff like that. Once they see the highlight thing, they start to talk to the players, and once they make a decision, they invite them to the so-called NFL International Combine, which took place last year in the UK, and I think even before that in the UK as well. So they invite several players from Europe, or even I think it was even participants from Africa or Australia. They invite them to the international combine. It's basically a lot of testing, and afterwards the guys still have to wait, the players still have to wait, and then usually beginning of December they get the information that they will take part in the International Player Pathway Program. This year it started, I think, January 10th, and it's a 10-week program. It was held at the IMG Academy in Florida, and yes, and and then they have a kind of pro day, sometimes their own pro day, sometimes it's part of a college pro day. And then the 10 weeks are over. The guys usually fly back to wherever they come from, and then it's waiting time. And it's different this year because all the years before, we all knew that either one division or two divisions in the NFL had like the opportunity to pick an IPP player with the extra spot on the practice squad. And this is actually the first NFL season where every NFL franchise has the possibility to add an IPP player to their program. And in the years before that, they always picked a player who took part in the IPP program. Now, that's not, what's the word I'm looking for? Mandatory. That's not mandatory anymore. Basically, they can pick anyone non-American who played less than 2 years of high school football. So the pool is way bigger, but also it's way more spots to fill, basically. Yes.
That's awesome.
I hope I explained it right. Because I've been going through it for a while. Yeah, I mean, Okay. So I know the difference. I knew how it was when Bernhard Seikowitz was part of the IPP, and then Leo Mesangomakini, and now Flo Bierbaum. So things changed, and I think it's awesome that they changed, because I was not a big fan of we put someone on the IPP spot, and if we want to activate him, we still have like a 21-day waiver. So I always thought, like, it makes no sense. If I have a need, on that position, and I have a guy with me who practice and who knows the playbook, and I cannot activate him even though he's here right with me. I'm glad they changed that. So,
yeah.
So are there other programs besides the NFL's IPP to get athletes from the ELF exposure to, NFL scouts and things like that? Or is it just the IPP for right now?
I think officially, when it comes to like a pathway program type of thing, it is only the IPP.
Okay.
Then there's the more like classic type of version. For instance, Bernhard Reimann, he did it in a way like. He got offered a full scholarship from Central Michigan, so he left Vienna, went to Michigan. Was playing with the Chippewas, and he did an awesome job. Then he changed to become an offensive lineman, and then all of a sudden he was in the draft and the first Austrian ever get drafted. So you have the IPP, you have the possibility to get a scholarship and make your name and work the way up on the ladder to get drafted. And the third thing, not an Austrian ever did it, but I know the exposure is really well. And there are guys who played, for instance, in the first year in the ELF, and then they played XFL or USFL, which is now a merger of the UFL, I think. And they was like, oh, that guy did nice. It's a good running back. And then he played XFL. And then while you mentioned the Cowboys, I think the Cowboys picked the running back who actually played on the first year ELF here in Europe, Turpin. I think that's his name.
I didn't know.
I didn't know.
Cowboys.
I didn't know Turpin played in the ELF. Wow. Okay.
I'm spreading my knowledge.
Hey. Wow. Okay. Go Turpin. I knew he was in the what is now the UFL, but that's crazy.
Yeah. The year before that, he played in the ELF. So
which team?
That's like I said, the exposure is good. Yeah.
Which team?
I think he played for the Rocklow Panthers.
Okay, hey, Tanner.
Hey, Day.
But so you mentioned Bernard Psychovitz.
Mm-hmm. Psychovitz. Yeah.
Psychovitz, and on your Twitter it says you're his press agent. What are you still doing that? And what does that entail? What does that job look like?
I'm his press agent in terms of when it comes to media stuff on this side of the pond. Like when he's in Europe, especially with Austrian or German speaking media, I'm in charge of that. So whenever he's here, which is not a lot of time, of course, only a few weeks a year, we always do media days or, do photo shootings or stuff like that. Or when there's some interview requests during the seasons, it's often running through me because I know the landscape over here and I know the journalists over here. So it makes a lot of sense to manage that for him and coordinate that for him, especially since, he's on a different time zone. I don't want, journalists to give him a call at 2 a.m. and wake him up and ask him any kind of questions. So we're trying to have more on a professional basis and organize that. So, but when it comes to whatever he does in Arizona, they have a wonderful media department there. I got to give a shout out to Mike. From the very beginning, he was super supportive. And whenever there were press conferences or Zoom meetings, we were able to do that at the facility, at the Cardinals facility. So it's a great work with the people at the Cardinals media department. They're awesome guys. Yeah.
Did not know they had a good marketing or media department. Now we do.
That's cool.
I've actually spoken with their media department before. Yeah, I had some footage of Kyler Murray, and I way undersold my footage to them because I was like 19, or no, I was a little older than that. I think I was 21, and I was struggling to pay rent. And I was like, "Hey, I have footage of Kyler Murray from high school," and I sold it for $300, and that was it.
Come on! No, he's worth $200 million.
Yeah, I could have sold that footage for $10,000, but it's fine. I didn't know any better at the time.
Yeah, you paid rent. So
yeah, hey, I paid rent. Exactly.
So we're gonna transition.
Paid the rent, or you bought yourself a pair of sneakers, maybe?
No, I never buy myself things. I paid rent.
Oh man. So we're going to transition back into a little bit more specifically with Vienna. So when you guys won in 2022, how was the championship win feel? Like, what was the atmosphere around the city at that time?
Pretty much undescribable. Thinking about it now, I get a little goosebumps. It was a super special day, to be honest. No, it was, everything is still a little blurry. And when I think about it, I still feel like my heart is, beating a little faster. And I can't help but have a smile on my face because it was pretty amazing. I mean, we were new to the league. We didn't know exactly what to expect. We had so much bad luck in terms of injuries. I mean, we lost so many players along the way. Like in a season, I think we had 17 or 16, I don't want to exaggerate, 16 season-ending injuries. And at the end, we still made it. It was a collective effort. It was a fantastic game plan. I cannot thank my coaching staff enough, especially head coach Chris Golaika, who always has great game plans. But it was amazing. And it was down there, 16,000 people. Hamburg was the favorite. We were a kind of underdog. Everyone tells us, oh, their defense is so good. Oh, their running game is so good. We're not gonna, have a chance. And then it was halftime. We were up with the lead. We had their best rusher, which is Glenn Tungar, who is now the running back for Rheinfire, with -7 yards at halftime. And I was like, okay, we're doing this. And then we were actually the way better defense on that day than the high-praised Hamburg defense. And it was pretty obvious by end of third quarter, we're going to win this. So at the sideline, it was electrifying. We had all the injured players there. And, 2 of them were even on Crocs and they could not really walk right. But when the fat lady blew the whistle and when it was over, it was breaking loose. Everybody was running on the field, Gatorade shower, and our head coach. And I started crying, tears of joy, and I couldn't stop. There are pictures of me everywhere where I was just like, oh my God. It was incredible. Everyone was hugging everyone, confetti shower, cameras everywhere, photographers, champagne. It's once you're down there and you're part of a winning team and all of this is happening around you, you get addicted. You feel like, man, I want this again. I need this again. It's really, really amazing. And the fact that we won in year one in Austria, it was like a fairy tale, to be honest with you. You could not have scripted it better. And
it sounds like a storybook.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it really does. And it's now like on to the next one. We're still super hungry. We want to build a dynasty. We're not done with one championship ring. Nope.
Now we're gonna be like the 2000 Tom Brady's, win 6.
Wouldn't that be something, Danny? Then we hire you.
Yes.
Oh man.
But so you kind of said it a little bit, but so what are your expectations for the Vikings this year?
I think I don't even want to sound like our expectation is not, playing in the championship game, because frankly, it is. We have a winning history. We have the best winning record. We have 2 conference champions yet. So want to play in the championship game, to be honest with you. It's I think it's going to be sold out. It's going to be 54,000 people there. That's as many as the NFL games we have in fall this year. We have high expectations, and more so because it's part of our culture. We are not that type of team or the type of franchise who feel like, let's dip our toe into it. Let's, we need to grow. We need to get better. I think the fact that we did it once and we were so successful and we had even a winning regular season last year, we still want to continue that. We approach it all in a way, let's say 1-0. We address one game at a week, game week after game week after game week. But the ultimate goal is definitely to play in the championship game. Yes.
Yeah.
Nice.
Bold. I know it sounds bold.
No,
I hope it didn't sound.
I like it.
No.
No, I
Talk your
like
shit.
it.
Talk
Yeah.
your shit.
Okay.
That's what we're here for. Great takes, everything.
So for people that aren't familiar with the players on the Vikings, for people who are going to start watching the ELF this year, who are some players that you would like to shout out specifically that people should be watching?
Oh, so many. I thought, funnily, I thought about that earlier today, that I'm really blessed with having so many great players I can feature all the time. I know that other PR people often, pick 3 or 4 and just focus on them all the time. I try to spread the spotlights to all my players, or most of my players, because they're really, really good. I mean, I think we did an awesome choice by picking our 4 Americans player, and I just can recommend watch them all. I think our quarterback, I get goosebumps. I've just seen him in practice, but what I've seen so far, I was like, holy moly, this offense is gonna be fun this year. And our receiver Weston, he reminds me of Randy Moss. So he make me fall back in love with football every time I watch him. He's like a smooth operator. He make things look so effortless. And then our 2 DBs, Hunter Nichols and Xavier Edwards. I mean, Xavier is the 3rd year with us. He's like basically Vienna now. I mean, his mom even said it's his second home. And Hunter is new to us, but he's funny and he's so incredibly athletic and smart. So our 4 Americans are really a great choice. Handpicked by our head coach, and I love him. The rest of the import players, we have Jordan, the Italian guy, love him, great player. We have our Finnish dudes. They become more and more every year. So I wouldn't be surprised if we have 4 Finns next year on our team. But they are awesome athletes, super disciplined guys, and they have a hilarious type of humor. You have no idea. We have Bombeck, who is, I think, number 3 in sacks in the league overall. And then, guys, we have Austrian players who are amazing. Obviously, Bierbaumer, he's gigantic, and I cannot see anyone, any DB really guard him, because his span is like, whoa. Then we got that young kid. I recommend you to take a close look at number 18. His name is Noah Touré, and he's a smooth operator too. I think you're gonna have a lot of fun watching him. And on the defensive side, it's just studs. I think we have the best defensive line in the league. Period. And I do discuss a lot of things, but this I don't discuss. And I can come back on the show after they prove that we got the best D-line in the league. You will see Baumbeck, you will see Balog, you will see Maxi Müllner, all of them making plays. And it's going to be a lot of pressure. And and then the defensive backs, who to name? We got Louis Horvath, best captain you can ask for, reigning European champion. We got Ben Straight. He's a monster. Watch him play. We got Nico Hussar, my opinion, the best homegrown corner in Europe. Mark my words. And I don't know. I probably forgot some very important, and I'm super sorry, and I give him a shout out next time. But I got a ton of guys really look at, and you can tell I'm so excited. Finally, the season starts next Saturday. I can't wait, man. I can't wait.
Yeah, Jordan and I actually work together, and every day I'm into his office, I'm like, it's only 7 days. It's 8 days. It's 6 days. We're so close.
No, seeing your passion for it is awesome too. So you mentioned the Vikings players that you really like that you want to showcase, which was probably about half the team. Yeah. Are there any non-Vienna players that our listeners should also be looking out for as well? Any favorites from any other teams that you do appreciate the game?
Sure. I mean, outside Vienna, players I like from other franchises.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, I think Kyle Kitchens is a really great football player, and he's a really cool dude. I got the chance to chat with him last year at the championship game. He's like moving on the field like a beast, but in real life, he's like a really cute teddy bear. I think he's been Defensive Player of the Year twice, so well deserved. He's a really cool dude. Earlier this year at FIBO, I had finally a chance to chat a little bit with Darius Robinson, the Munich Ravens DB. I know he knows who I am and I know who he is, but we never had a chance to talk in person. So I appreciated having a little time to talk with him in person at the FIBO, at this exhibition we've been to in Cologne. He's a really cool guy, and he's around quite for a while. Unfortunately, he was injured last year, but he's a great player. And finally, I know two other quarterbacks in the league very, very well. Actually, three very, very well, because they've all been former Vikings quarterbacks. Chris Helbig, who played with us last year, is now in Madrid. If he watches us, Chris, all the best, and have a great time in Madrid. And then there's Jake Sullivan, who's been in the league from day one. He played the last 3 years in Frankfurt Galaxy. Now he's the new quarterback in Berlin. I love Jake. He's a absolutely cool dude. We had him in Vienna with us, unfortunately in COVID years, so the season wasn't really happening how it was supposed to happen, but he spent all his lockdowns in Vienna, started to do yoga. Maybe that's the reason why he's now a very calm and centered guy. He's a cool dude. I love him. I'm gonna meet him when we play against Berlin. I already feel sorry for him when I think about my pass rushes, but hey, that's life. What can you do? And of course, there's Jadrian Clark, the reigning champion, the quarterback from Rheinfire. He played in Vienna, was the quarterback long before, but like 1.5 years before the ELF was born. So I know Jadrian too. So yeah, I guess I know quite some players all over Europe. Funny. Yeah, funny thing.
You guys are just feeding the team with players, apparently. Yeah, everyone
Looks
goes
like it, right? Yeah.
So you mentioned FIBO, and that's actually our last question we have for you today.
Yeah.
Is what happens at that, like the FIBO conference? Is it open to everyone? Like, it looked cool on social media. I was jealous I wasn't there.
Man, Danny, you have no idea. I had no idea. It's a huge exhibition, and it's all about fitness, equipments, nutritions, wellness type of things. It's like, I think 12 or 13 huge halls with hundreds of companies, and I think it's the biggest fitness exhibition in Europe, definitely, but maybe one of the biggest one worldwide. On that Saturday we were there, they had 200,000 people there. It was crazy. Cow. The line at the entrance, I mean, we were lucky we had those athlete passes, so we, could go like a VIP
just
kind of
skip line.
The line. Yeah, skip the line. Sometimes fame pays off, but no, I'm just joking. I don't want to come across too cocky or not. But we had to be on stage, and we had like certain things to do with the European League of Football. So you get those special types of passes, and you don't have to go, with the regular guests of the exhibition. But it's huge. So many people there, super crowded. A lot of crowd that's really into sports. And the European League of Football had, I think, rented half of one of the hall where they had like a media area. They had an area where league partners were able to present themselves, like KFC or, the K-Pro Sports, the official supplier. And then they had like little artificial fields where like fans or people who were just walking there had the chance to try to catch a ball, throw a ball. How is it to tackle? So you have those little actions and experience things. And then they had an area where there was a stage where all the press conferences and all those team talks have been taped. It was super exciting. We were there the first time this year, but we all had an awesome time. And I think if they do it again next year, we will definitely come back.
Nice. Yeah, it looked like a blast. And I think that's where we got our little insider start as well with the new Vikings helmet that the ELF accidentally leaked.
Yeah.
Accidentally.
Accidentally.
Well, cool. Kiki, I think that's the last of our questions for you. But before we let you go, we would love for you to plug your social media just so people know where they can follow you, where to follow the Vienna Vikings, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah, all the accounts that you want to shout out, this is your opportunity for it.
This is the opportunity. Okay, first of all, thank you guys for having me. I had a blast. Awesome to chat with you. Really appreciate it. You can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and those of you who even use Facebook any longer, but it's always at Kiki Klepsch, no dot, no dash, no nothing, at Kiki Klepsch. And if you, of course, want to follow the Vienna Vikings, and if you don't do it by now, hurry up and do it now. It's at Vienna Vikings. We are on Instagram, we are on X, we're on TikTok, we're on LinkedIn, we're on Facebook, we're on YouTube. We are everywhere. And make sure you follow us because we did an awesome shooting yesterday. And if you want to see one of the most epic uniforms reveal video ever, you got to make sure to follow us because we're going to drop it next week.
Ooh, I'm excited.
I'm excited too. That'll be fun.
Oh, Danny, brace yourself. You gotta sit down and be like, "Ooh, my God!"
When I get that tweet notification, I'll just sit down, make sure I'm safe. Oh, it's gonna be great.
Yeah,
you cut out on that last one, but we understand what you were saying, Danny.
Yeah.
Oh, sad.
It happens.
That's okay.
Okay, can I say one last thing?
Go for it.
Okay. Yep. I am so sorry that the Raiders didn't respond to everything you did. It's not because of you. You are an awesome dude, and I'm really sorry for them. I mean it. No,
well,
seriously.
and that's why now we're cheering for Barcelona because the season hasn't started yet, so I can change teams before.
Exactly.
So,
exactly.
But as of next week, I am stuck with Barcelona for the rest of my life. So, I hope.
Are you sure?
Hey, look, I'm letting you know right now, Levi Lewis is about to be the best quarterback in the ELF. I will die on that hill. Levi Lewis is the truth. Come on. Levi Lewis is the truth.
All day.
Just wait.
Ask Alex. Alex even says Ben Holmes.
Just wait.
I'm on behalf of Ben Holmes, I say challenge accepted.
Okay. Word. Well, you and I will revisit this conversation in like 6 to 8 weeks, okay?
All right. All right. We're going to talk mid-season again. All right.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Kiki, for joining us today. This has been an awesome interview. Probably one of my favorites, hands down. You have such just a passion for this game and for this league, and you can just tell in everything that you say. So, again, we appreciate your time. Thank you for everyone who's been listening so far. We're about to kick it to commercial break, and then afterwards, we're going to talk to official ELF writer Alex Malchow. Y'all stay tuned.
You're the proud owner of a business, and you've got it all. The hustle, the bustle, and the occasional office kitchen mishap that turns into an alarm-triggering emergency.
Oh!
But fear not. Western States Fire Protection is here to turn your workplace into a disaster-free zone. Our in-house team handles everything from fire sprinklers to alarms, monitoring, inspections, extinguishers, and more. Visit WSFP.com to request a quote.
Are you looking for a podcast to advertise your business? Well, you're in luck. Here at the Fork Down Fiasco, we're looking for show sponsors. Whether you want to be a platinum sponsor and be mentioned at the beginning and end of every episode, or you just want a simple 30 or 60-second ad, we got you covered. If you're interested in having a spot on our show, you can reach us at fourthdownfiasco@gmail.com. That's fourthdownfiasco@gmail.com. We are excited to hear from you and even more excited to have you on the show. Join the Fiasco family now.
All right, and we are back. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Fourth Down Fiasco. Again, a 5-star rating on the platform that you choose to listen to us on is always appreciated, whether that's Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Every review helps us to grow the show. Just so everyone knows, Danny had to skedaddle. He's about to go see the Savannah Bananas play, which I am incredibly jealous about. So it'll just be Tanner and I for this next one. But we are on to the second interview of our epic European League of Football doubleheader. And with us now is the official journalist of the ELF, also a writer for American Football International and former offensive lineman for Denison University. Go Big Red, Alex Malchow. Say hello to the people, Alex.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me on. What a fantastic introduction, Jordan. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And yeah, I'm excited to chat with you guys about this season, which is just around the corner now.
Sweet. So we got to enjoy a discussion with Kiki Klepsch about the Vienna Vikings and just some overall outlook of the ELF. But we want to get a little granular for our listeners right now to better understand the league. And Alex is going to help us to better understand that. Retrospectively speaking, we probably should have started off the podcast with your interview, but it's a little late now. So Tanner, do you want to kick us off with our first question?
Yeah, let's go for it. So before we actually start talking about the ELF, I got to ask, are you doing okay eating the food in the UK? Like, is it like flavored at all, or you've been struggling?
All right. So when I first got there, I moved there about 4 years ago. I was like, what's with the beans and the breakfast? You know, like
the beans.
I already have some coffee. Like, I don't need the beans first thing, you know. I already took care of business, right?
Yeah.
But you know, now I love it. The best thing about the food in England is the Indian food is freaking amazing.
That's what I was
like
just
Indian food. You'll be all right.
Yeah, that's what I was telling Tanner is that I've heard that all the food's bad except for the Indian food because you get authentic Indian food there.
Absolutely, man. It's fantastic. Butter chicken all day, every day.
Hell yeah.
I'm more of a sog guy, so.
I'm sure they got the good song too.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll actually get into it now. So how did you get started with the ELF, and tell us a little bit about your football journey?
Yeah, so I grew up in the States, played high school and college football at a D3 in Ohio, Denison University. Kind of knew that a 5'9", 250-pound O-lineman, my first round chances were pretty low in the NFL. So
you don't say.
Yeah, I thought, I had some great, scout team reps. I was sent into the Browns, to the Cowboys, but they weren't quite biting. So I wanted to keep playing. I knew I still had some juice as a player. So I ended up playing in Finland actually in 2017 after I graduated.
That's sick.
Graduated on a Sunday, and I played in the Finnish Maple League on Thursday night. So it was a crazy time, but so much fun, and ended up playing after that in France and 2 seasons in Germany. So I got to see a lot of Europe, and then after I stopped playing, I just wanted to stay involved. I started writing about various leagues, and then in 2021, European League of Football came around, which has kind of seized the hearts and minds of the European American football scene.
Love it. And you have a journalism major, right?
Absolutely not. I have no journalistic education at all. I just started writing because I am a super football nerd. So just got into it. When I started, it was 2020. So had lots of free time, man. And there were some leagues still playing. In Finland was one of the only sports leagues in the world, was the American Football League in Finland, which I had played in. Mm-hmm. So I was like, I'm not doing nothing. Let me write about the Finnish American Football League. And so that kind of took off from there. I have no formal education in journalism, but I've enjoyed it a lot. Yeah.
Hey, all good, all good. So, I guess kind of take us through a brief history of the ELF, so our listeners can get caught up on the storylines, the drama, etc. You know, what teams are historically good, what teams are historically bad. I know that the ELF's only been around a couple of years, but yeah, just kind of give us that high level overview so people know kind of what they're getting into this upcoming Saturday.
Absolutely. And I should have said this earlier, but you have a fantastic hat as well, Jordan. So
thank you. Yeehaw.
Okay, so the European League of Football. I think, you know, if there's any soccer fans out there, the easiest way to think about it is maybe like sort of the Champions League of American football in Europe. So these are really the best of the best. American football has been played in Europe for over 50 years, really after World War II, some leagues started coming up. And now these are really the best teams in every country and region, I would say. So are now playing in this league, kind of like a super league, or maybe like college football, it's like the SEC, right? Is kind of how I would think about it for American fans. The league started in 2021, sort of out of a stagnation of the various leagues that were in Europe. There was no sort of Champions League. There was no like European title. It was sort of, I'm the best team in Belgium. I'm the best team in France. I'm the best team in Estonia, right? Mm-hmm. Who's the best? We don't know. We're throwing it at the wall. Now you can prove you're the best. You can join the ELF. And it has taken not only the hype of the game, but the skill of the game. Better athletes are playing, what used to be more of a niche sport. And now we're going into year 4 of the ELF. And it's really exciting how it's elevated the sport overall. Now, to talk about some of the best teams, a lot of teams that were good in whatever national league, they grew into the ELF and have sustained that success. Probably the best example of that is the Vienna Vikings. They won the title in 2022. But prior to that, they were dominating the Austrian league. They were one of the best teams in Europe, even prior to joining that league. Some other great teams are the Stuttgart Surge made the final last year. They were sort of born out of another team in many ways that used to be very good in the German league. So there's a lot of kind of politics with this, as you can imagine, but they're a team to watch. And then, of course, the champions last year were the Rhein Fire, coached by Jim Tomsula, the former NFL head coach, which is sort of a rebirth of an NFL Europe team. So they're kind of playing on this nostalgia in Dusseldorf, which had a lot of success back when NFL Europe was going. So those are sort of high-level 3 teams that are really good right now and have some history behind them.
And then give us who kind of the shitty teams are. I want to know.
Okay. I try to avoid it, but if you're going to ask me straight up, yeah, all right.
Hey, we hard-hitting journalism around here, okay?
All right, I like it. No softballs, hardball questions. I like it.
Yeah.
All right. All right. So we got a new team, Prague Lions, right? The Prague Lions. Yeah, I'm not feeling the lion heartness or whatever you want to say. I'm not feeling the pride of the Lions. They had a rebrand. Last year was less than ideal on the field and off. They were one game, they kind of didn't show up. So that wasn't good. And when they did show up, they got blown out a lot. So they have a lot to prove in year 2. They have new ownership now. They have a new logo, kind of a whole rebirth of this squad. So that's encouraging, but I need to see it. We haven't seen it yet in season. Who else is bad? Then one of the new teams is the Fehérvár Enthroners, which is near Budapest, Hungary. And they were very good in the Hungarian league, and then they joined the ELF last year, was their first year. And it was a big jump up. You can imagine going from, like, if we're going to use the soccer example, right, going from, I don't know, La Liga in Spain to the Champions League is a big jump. And that's it looked like a big jump for them, honestly. So those are kind of 2 teams that really struggled last season. We'll see how they do in year 2 in the ELF. We'll give them a pass because it was their first year in the higher league, but now it's year 2. No more free passes. So we'll see.
No more free passes. I like it.
Awesome. So looking at that too, what are some of the rivalries to look out for? Like, what are some of the teams that have like the best run or like the deepest rivalries with each other?
Yeah. Well, let's bring it back to Austria, right? The Vienna Vikings and the Raiders Tirol were two teams that played each other in the Austrian league for like 20 years. And it was sort of like Alabama, Auburn. These were like the two powerhouse teams of that league. Now they're both in the ELF. It's still one of my favorite rivalries on the whole European American football scene. So Vikings Raiders to me is like the rivalry. There's also some new rivalries as the league develops. And I think one rivalry that we're going to see build up is the Munich Ravens and the Stuttgart Surge are two really up and coming teams that are based in South Germany. Where really American football is quite popular in this area. There's a lot of fans. There's quite a strong American influence post-World War II there, culturally and otherwise. So that has really fed into the popularity of the sport in this region, which just fuels the fire of that rivalry.
Sweet. So kind of shifting gears here a little bit, could you explain the differences in front office rules between the NFL and ELF? Because I know that, like, for example, like there's a limited number of Americans that can play per team. So yeah, could you take us through like some of those differences, some of those nuanced things that are specific to the ELF?
Absolutely, yeah. Okay, so there are only 2 Americans for each team on the field at the same time. So everyone else is European or non-American. So typically, if you only could pick 2 Americans on your offense, who would you pick?
Quarterback and probably a wide receiver.
Center.
Okay, Tanner, yeah, you're a bit off, but Jordan's on it, yeah. But I appreciate the shout out to the O-lineman. Yeah, most teams have gone with quarterback and a receiver or quarterback running back typically. Then on defense, they'll take usually 2 defensive backs or a linebacker and a defensive back. But we've seen different combinations of where to use the Americans. So usually a team will have 4 Americans, 2 offensive players and 2 defensive players. And the rest of the guys are from the area. One other wrinkle is there's a import spot. So these are guys that are still being paid well, and they're coming from a different area. So, for example, if a very good French player wants to see the world, make some money, focus on football, he can play in Germany as an import. And he can play whatever position. You can have as many on the field as you want. But there's only 6 you can have for the whole team. So you could get 6 defensive backs that are from France or whatever outside of your country, and spread them out however you'd like. But there's only 6, so it's a limited spot. And you can imagine these are quite competitive. These are really good European players that are vying for these roles. And some of them aren't even European. There's some guys from Australia, from New Zealand, some big linemen from down there that have made their way to the ELF now in this kind of import role. Even some Brazilian guys. So really, I like watching those spots because you're like, this guy's from Brazil and he's playing in Berlin. Like, what? And then the rest of the team is from the area, from the country. So that's sort of how the roster building is done in the ELF, which I think is a great way to develop the players in the area, the homegrown talent, rather than bringing, 10 or 15 Americans and having it be some sort of like minor league.
Fair enough. No, that's so. I guess was the original idea, because I know that it's A imports and E imports, and obviously the A stands for American. Was the original idea that the E import was European, and then it just kind of expanded after that?
Yeah, I think originally it was for European. With the EU, it's really easy to travel and get jobs whenever different countries are in the EU. So I think the idea was anyone from the EU, but at this point, it's expanded past that. And we have there's a player from Russia. There's guys from New Zealand, like I said. There's guys from Brazil. A lot of Scandinavian players. Like I was talking about the Finnish league. their imports playing in Germany, France, etc. Because there's no ELF team in their country, right?
Right.
A lot of British players as well who are now outside the EU. So, a lot of talent from outside that home country that isn't American is kind of how it's defined now.
Gotcha. Cool.
Okay, cool. And then what about the differences in game rules?
Okay, yeah. So they play basically NFL rules. They're using the same kickoff as the NFL just adopted. So sort of the original XFL kickoff where it's just the kicker, and then the guys are lined up 5 yards apart. I don't know, at like the 20 or wherever they were. So that was kind of one of the cool innovations of the league, I would say. Other than that, it's NFL rules. So yeah, pretty easy for fans to get into.
Okay, cool. And then any notable players that have gotten a chance to actually play in the NFL that have come from the ELF?
Yeah. There's one great example. The others are not really NFL examples. There was a player named Kevontae Turpin, who you might know from the Cowboys. There we go.
Yeehaw.
Yeah, this guy, I don't know how he ended up in the ELF. He's just signed a big deal for the Cowboys, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, he played in Poland for the Wrocław Panthers in 2021, and he's just out there cooking people up. You think like, oh, he's an NFL guy, he's going to get 2,000 yards. It's going to be like my player mode, right? But it wasn't that. He was very good, but he wasn't like destroying the league. But he just has the intangibles, right? He's fast. He's quick. His change of direction is elite. So he played in the ELF. Then after that, he played in the USFL, and then he got the big deal with Dallas. So he's the best example of sort of ELF to NFL, I would say. I think there's going to be a lot of ELF to UFL. That has already happened a few times, of players making sort of that jump to a pro league in the US, whether it's the CFL or the UFL. So we've seen a lot of examples of that. There's been 3 or 4 guys that played a season in the ELF, then they were signed in Canada or signed in USFL. So there's more of that happening than NFL. But obviously, if a guy does great in the ELF, then gets a chance UFL, takes advantage of that opportunity, then we could see him in the NFL like Kevontae Turpin. So he has laid a path. It is quite a difficult path, but there is a path.
Oh, there's a path, yeah.
There is a path. No, I mean, Kiki actually was the one who, because I knew Kevontae had played in the USFL, but I didn't know that he had played in the ELF. And she had mentioned it, and like it blew my mind because I love Turpin. I think he's so much fun. He's so explosive, and he's been such an X factor for us. Where he just. You can have him. You use him similar to how like San Francisco uses damn near everybody on their team, where it's like, hey, we need you to be a running back for this play. We're going to line you up in the slot. Now we're going to put you on the outside. He just does a little bit of everything, and so I love Turpin. So I'm
excited to see how he does with the new kickoff rules. He's going to get way more returns now than last year. So.
Yeah, he's so electric from that.
A lot more Turpin.
He's electric from that slot too. Just great guy. I mean, he just even in interviews, just seems super humble and fun and everything else. So kind of switching to the actual teams themselves. I do want to say, first of all, I am going to call you out for talking shit about my Barcelona Dragons.
Yeah,
come on, man. You don't think we're going to get that week 1 win? You don't think this is about to put up some crazy numbers?
You got to come out and stand by what you said. So I'm going with the Guards. You can't pick all favorites. I got to pick one underdog at least. So I'll take the I keep saying Guards, the mercenaries in this one. Yeah.
You did that just to take a stab at me is what it was.
To rile you up before this.
Who do you think has the highest chance of winning it all this year? If you're good, early season predictions, just what give us like your top 4.
Top 4, okay.
Yeah.
You know what I'll do? Even better, I'll give you top 3. All right.
Okay.
All right. Number 1, Rhein Fire. They won last year. Really, last year they were probably a head above most teams as far as talent, coaching, and a lot of different aspects. So they were really, they had an undefeated season and really only had a few close games. They were really a dominant season from that team. They were absolutely stacked. But the league has gotten better in the offseason. And Rhein Fire, they made some roster changes, but it's hard to say they got better, but the whole league got better. So Rhein Fire, number one. Number two, Stuttgart Surge made the final last year, and they definitely got better. They got a lot of German guys that played college football to come to Stuttgart. Their eligibility is over as a D2 or Division I FCS player. No NFL. Let me go back home and ball out, right? So they're getting a lot of those type of guys who are just homegrown players. They don't count as an E, they don't count as an A, but they have great experience. So Surge really impressed me this offseason. And then the third team, kind of the dark horse of the group, is the Munich Ravens. It's only their second year in the ELF, but their offensive line coach is Joe Thomas. That's worth something. And it's already paid off because a lot of good German linemen, both defense and offensive, said, yeah, I'm going to play for him. See you, Frankfurt. See you, Stuttgart. I'm going to Munich. I'm going to play for Joe freaking Thomas. That's come on, right? So they're winning the battle in the trenches, and they have a lot of their core back from last season. They have a fantastic running back, experienced quarterback. So I really like Munich as well this year. So those are my top three.
They also have some of the best jerseys in the ELF. That blue checkered on the side, bro. That
I like it. I'm trying to think of like a college team or something they look like, but I can't even think of it. It's a very unique look.
Yeah, it's almost their jerseys kind of remind me of Maryland's, but if instead of like red, yellow, and black, if they were black and blue instead, I feel like that's probably
maybe like Coastal Carolina a little bit. Yeah. Anyway.
So kind of going off of that, what are some of the homegrown standouts that people should be watching out for in the season?
Absolutely. Well, let's stay in Munich. I'm going to talk about a defensive back. Let me just make sure he's got a tough name. Let me just pull it up here.
Hey, we understand as the Americans, try to talk about the European sports, it gets rough.
I've butchered his name before, but I'm trying to hype him up. So we got Christoph Nitzelnander, Christoph Nitzelnander, Schnitzel. He's a baller, cornerback from Austria, actually, who moved from the Raiders now to Munich. Really good young defensive back. I'm really excited to watch him take some steps forward. There's also a linebacker for the Rhein Fire named Flamor Simon, a German guy as well. He's like a freaking throwback player. If it was 2009, he would be like the big middle linebacker that's 260 pounds and hitting people in the box. He's huge. He can move. Just a fantastic linebacker. Offensively, there's a few guys to watch as well. Some really good homegrown talent, starting with Glenn Tunga. He's a British running back, played for the Rhein Fire last year. He's back. He could have led the ELF in rushing, but he missed a few games. He's been doing it in Europe for a long time. I don't know if you guys ever saw the clip. He got tackled by his dreadlocks last season.
That was brutal.
Yeah, he should really just rock a fade and he'll go for 2K. But anyway, he's a beast. One of my favorite running backs in the league. And there's a receiver who really kind of reminds me of like a Terrell Owens type of guy. Really tall, can win jump balls, and separate at the same time. Anthony Mahungu, he played for the Rhein Fire last year, was sort of part of their stacked team. Now he's going home to Paris. He's a French guy. He played Division I in the States. He had a cup of coffee with the Eagles. And now he's been out here doing it in Europe for a long time, and I'm really excited to see him ball out at home.
Sick. What about American standouts? So some of the imports. That stands out to you. And you can also, this can extend to, it doesn't have to just be the Americans. If there's someone from like, I know that you had mentioned Australia and Brazil, any, I guess, non-European players that are really standing out to you right now.
Sure. Yeah. A lot of the Australian guys are like O linemen or D linemen. But there's some good ones out there, but their names might even be harder for me to pronounce, so I'll leave them for now. But shout out to all the Pacific Islanders in the ELF. Some American standouts. We've got to start with the MVP of last season, Jadrian Clark, over 50 touchdowns, 5,000 yards. This guy, he made it really look easy last season. He's back with a lot of weapons on a really good team. So it's you can't talk about American standouts without mentioning him. Moving on from the quarterback position, I want to talk about a really exciting return man. We're talking about Kavontae Turpin. There's a guy named Devin Burrell. I think he had 8 return touchdowns last season. He's unstoppable in this format of the kickoff. Sometimes the level of ELF play, on special teams is when some Americans can really shine and separate themselves, right? And Burrell is a great example of that, changing the game in the kick return. So really exciting to watch him. He's playing for the Wrocław Panthers this year, coming from Milan last season. Some other guys to look at, kind of like if we're doing the NFL comparisons, Lawrence Taylor of the ELF. Kyle Kitchens is a edge rusher. He's been Defensive Player of the Year 2 seasons of the 3. He's led the league in sacks again. He's just a force off the edge for the Thunder, and kind of take him for granted now because he's so good every season. Those are some American standouts that I would kind of highlight from a 1,000-foot view of the league.
Well, no, that's awesome. Again, just we have right now, at least, a very American-based audience. And so, this is going to be all new stuff to them. And, I have a lot of friends who listen to our pod, and they've all chosen different teams. I don't think a single one of us have overlapped on teams, thankfully. And so, just being able to know who it is that we're watching and who to look out for. So then that way, when that first game hits on Saturday, we're not like, who am I supposed to be watching right now? At least we have an idea,
So how did you guys find out about the league and dive into it?
So it was actually Danny who found out, and because our whole shtick here on the pod is we talk all football. Just we're here for ball. Doesn't matter if it's college football. We even talk about the UFL a little bit. We just guys who like football. And Danny, I don't know how he came across it, but found out about the ELF and was like, dude, let's all choose teams. And so we were like, hell yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, man.
And so, now we're, balls deep in it and ready to go. And it's super exciting. And
to me, it's so exciting to hear that like Americans think it's cool because before the ELF, we had all these leagues running, but they didn't make it cool. And I feel like the ELF has made it really cool to play football in Europe, and their social media, the way they're presenting the league is so amazing. And it's great to like show people it, and they're like, "What? This is sick!" I'm very encouraged by you guys jumping on. It's a good sign.
Yeah, no, just even in our discussions with Kiki, like I can just see the passion, number one, but number two, the storytelling that comes from, the social media teams, the marketing teams, just in general, is so much better. Because I remember the NFL Europe days, we all do, and to your point, exactly, yeah, NFL Europe was not cool. There was nothing cool about it, But, just kind of the story that's being told with the ELF right now and the way that it's set up, it's to your point, it seems cool. It seems like something that we want to dive into. So speaking of, teams, Europe, expansions, all of that stuff and the stories to be told, I heard that there might be another team getting added here soon.
Really? Okay, you might know better than me.
Is it the Claymores? What's going on?
Last year we liked to stir. I had some journalist friends. We stirred the pot a bit. We would do like little episodes about who's coming to join, and none of what we predicted happened at all. I went to the press conference, the kickoff press conference before the 2023 season, and I thought, they're going to announce a London team or an Amsterdam team, and I was sure of it. I was like already texting everyone like, bro, London, they're going to say it in an hour. And they didn't. They were like, here's Madrid. I was like, oh, shit, okay. But, I think eventually there has to be a London team. I mean, you see the NFL putting all their efforts into London and making that like a football city. Me living in London, it's a sports town. There's 9 million people there. ELF should be in London. So I don't even care about all these other cities, man. Put an ELF team in London so I can be a super fan. That's my rumor. Me demanding a London team, all right?
Well, since there isn't a London team, who are you a fan of currently, at least?
All right. So last year, I was with Paris Musketeers. My fanhood is a flag in the wind, wherever it goes. So this year, I'm rocking with Vienna Vikings, my guy Ben Holmes.
I'm so glad Danny's not here right now to hear you say that.
I needed a new team. I think I wanted to root for different teams and try things out because I know this is temporary. This is I'm just a fling until London comes around and, I'll find my real team. So, I'll date the Vikings for this summer, I guess. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Dating the Vikings for the summer. I like that. Well, cool. That's all the questions that we have pertaining to the ELF for this one. So before we, end the episode, you're more than welcome to plug your social media for folks so they know where to find you and also, the journals that you write for too.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm writing for AmericanFootballInternational.com, and then recently I've been writing some articles for the European League of Football website, which has been fun. Sometimes I'm on ELF Live, so tune into that. It's a great show, and my Twitter is @EuroballChow if you want to follow my silly coverage of the league.
Excellent. Cool. Well, thanks so much, everyone, for listening. This has been our epic doubleheader European League of Football episode. If you're listening to this on Thursday, that means that you've got 3 days until the ELF begins. So if you haven't picked a team, figure it out because we all have one. But we will talk to y'all next week. Y'all take care.